SDL 0320 representing JVS. It is Christmas Day. Merry Christmas to everybody. If y'all watch this today, if not tomorrow, then definitely hope y'all are having a blessed and awesome holiday. But I wanted to make sure I give y'all this review because this was actually one of the better movies I didn't expect to be really good. From very own Quentin Tarantino, The Hateful Eight. I was able to look at this movie a little bit early. Notable mentions: Samuel L. Jackson, Kurt Russell, Tim Roth, what was his name? Walton Goggins, Jennifer Jason Leigh, Channing Tatum, just a few of the main characters in this arc. But what did I think about the movie in general? Actually, it was the beauty of the actual movie is just as equal in part to the amazing stage presence and performances of each and every character. Like, they shined. Specifically, and I haven't even seen her in that much, Jennifer Jason Leigh. Her character Daisy, wow. Like, she is one of the most revile and weird and just downright. She didn't even have to do actions. It was just everything, the way she would react to everything that was happening to her, that made her such an interesting character. But let's go on the scope and the visual first off. So the visual effects for this is specifically the location that they shot, also with the camera, cinematography. It was amazingly beautiful. Like, it was one of the most beautiful looking films I think I've ever seen. From a scope level, I think they used a 70 millimeter camera, so it was one of the more higher end cameras they've used. I think Mad Max this year also did that. This is one of the sharpest and most stage presence cameras that they've used over the years. I think even Ben-Hur was shot with the same exact camera. But either way, like, everything was generally shot in the snow. But more than anything, a lot of the movie take place in the house. And it's like, you can't think that they would have a lot of interesting angles and cinematography and stuff like that, but it's also the sound. And the score for this is actually amazing. It was probably a really good score. Comparable to, like, when I think about Django, it's like a specific kind of score that it treats and tailors to this. But from a visual standpoint, just how beautiful the look of the film, I mean, it was amazing to actually really watch. It's, on a visual level, I would give it at least a 9.5 or a 10 out of 10. The sound was just as good as the video. So that's the thing. They work hand in hand. But let's go ahead and get to the performances. First off, so the main character, one of the main characters, would definitely be Kurt Russell's, what's his name, John Ruth, and then Major Marquis, played by Samuel L. Jackson. But then it's like their dynamics I really liked. Like, in the beginning of the whole movie, when they first get up there and you actually see who these characters are and find out who's what, you're always built with this understanding, like, there's a lot of mistrust, specifically coming from John Ruth or Russell Crowe's character, and he plays it really well. But then you find out what he's doing with this other character named Daisy, and that's played by Jennifer Jason Leigh. He's just almost very abusive to her. I don't know how the general audience is actually going to take it. I know that they're going to definitely commend her performance, but it's like, I mean, most of the time, this dude is like hitting on this woman. But it's like the things that she's doing is almost like deserving of it, which it's never deserving of having a woman get hit, first off. But it's like when you see them combating each other, it's really weird and interesting at the same exact time. And the performances, oh my gosh. Like, they playing it, it's like it's real. Like, there's some comedic kind of feel to, like, the spaghetti westerns sometimes that Quentin Tarantino makes, specifically like in Django, when there are terrible things that are happening that are funny. He has a way of doing that. And this one is no shy from that. Specifically when Walton Goggins' character, the sheriff, comes in, and how his role like impacts this movie. It's really interesting to watch all four of them. But definitely Samuel Jackson. Samuel Jackson, for me, made up an interesting part of this, because I didn't know the entire movie whether this guy was considered a villain or this guy was considered, like, you know, like a good guy. And it's like, even at the very end, like, the ending, y'all, is so shocking that everybody's performance, from Channing Tatum's performance to Tim Roth's performance to specifically Walton Goggins and Jennifer Leah's performance, are just amazing. just because of the way that everything was set up as far as the plot. When you see one thing happen, they go full back forward to find out what's really happening. And that's one of the things I can't say about this movie is the actual story. Like I'm not even gonna go into a spoiler-filled review because it's so intriguing. Like, I mean, when you think about Major Marquis, and when the first time we see him like laid up on top of a couple of dead bodies, just in the snow. You're like, this doesn't make sense. And then everybody else, they just randomly pop in, and it's like you're thinking that people have an agenda. And that's the beauty of this film, is that throughout most of the entire film, you're trying to figure out what the heck is going on and why all these 8 people are cornered in this situation. Even was it Bruce Dern? He plays General Sandy. When he has this one interesting sequence with Samuel Jackson, and Samuel Jackson just says something so vile and jacked up, but it's like it reminded me of Leonardo DiCaprio's performance with Jamie Foxx in Django, when he was telling him about what he was going to do to his wife, basically. And it kind of felt that same kind of tension and tone. But the way that the story and pacing goes, you're listening to what he's saying, but you're like, is there more to this? And that's where you feel the entire film. That's one of the things that's either going to make or break this from a general audience standpoint, but from a critic standpoint, from a movie standpoint, is beautiful symmetry, because you're always processing, you're always thinking, you're always being entertained, even though a lot of stuff is very violent, very vile. It's really put in your face, and Quentin Tarantino plays it beautifully. Like it's literally a beautiful disaster. That's the best way I can kind of put it. And like Hateful Eight, it lives up to its name by the end of it. Now, the thing I'll say about the story is that like you're not going to see a lot of you're going to see violence and gore, but it's not throughout a lot like Django was. There are times where it's just a silent kind of pace that's going on. Like Michael Madsen might be one of the characters, and you kind of see him, and he's inside of the house with them, and he's talking about what he's doing and who he is. And you're like, you can't trust this guy. But then you listen to somebody else that sounds innocent, and it's totally the opposite effect of what it might actually really be. And that's the thing that I really liked about this film, is that I was always going and trying to process what's happening with what is really current and what's happening. That's the best way I can kind of say it without spoiling too much. But by the end of the movie, hands down, the character Daisy, played by Jennifer Jason Leigh, is like the way that her character is kind of surrounded her. Because John Ruth, which is Russell Crowe's character, Kurt Russell's character, has her kidnapped, and there's a specific reason for that. You don't find out until maybe the third act. And so I love that, as well as when Channing Tatum's character finally comes up. Whew. Anyway, all I can say, I definitely give this movie a 9 out of 10. I borderline thinking maybe a 9.5 out of 10 just from a visual standpoint. But I don't know if I like it as much as some of the other ones he's done. This is definitely one of his best ones that he's done lately. But then I have to compare it to Django, and it's like, I really love Django. So it's really hard. But I mean, I might as well go ahead and give it a 9.5. It was a really good film. The acting performances were just amazing. The visual scope for it is really awesome. It's just sometimes it was just like, I wanted more on the action side. I think it's just because I've been kind of pampered too bad with Django. That's probably why. But if I think about like some of the old ones like Pulp Fiction, and even like comparing it to like Kill Bill, like those are night and day, but they're still awesome movies in their own right. This is just something that's a whole different realm of it, and definitely it was beautifully played. And so hopefully you enjoy this review for The Hateful Eight. Stay tuned for a little bit more, because I'm going to be looking at Concussion really soon. And stay tuned, stay locked. This is JVS SCL 0320. Have a blessed and Merry Christmas. Love y'all. Hold on. We'll be back.